interesting news.
That's a good
Seiko
way to start the stream.
watches.
Yes, we've
Pardon me.
started. Greetings. Welcome.
There we are.
Good timing, Pixie. Welcome, Big Z. Tog, Pixie. Just in time for Big Z's interesting news.
Actually, it's interesting in that it's only interesting to me. What channel are we on? Can you post a link in private chat?
Yep, we're on mine, and you are a mod.
Oh, well, that's good. Okay. Well, let's see if I can get
But
this
I
get this
can
rolling.
copy and paste it for you if you need.
Well, anyway, I'll put this in private chat, and maybe you can link it to public. There is Seiko Watches has now come up with customizable watches. So to a degree, you can choose from a large number of options and then buy your watch, apparently. I don't know all the details yet. I picked out what I would buy if I
So
were
like
to.
you can, it's like a custom watch. Like you could change the face or like image, for the back plate or.
Yeah, the imagine that Seiko, of course, for any of their watch brands, has a bunch of different faces or bezels or materials to make a watch out of, and this lets you pick from what they have. And now I will go and see if I can get into 420's chat. I mean, see the room as such instead of just StreamYards.
Oh, and we're talking about like regular watches, not like smart watches, right?
That's correct.
Cool.
I
Yeah.
don't object to smart watches, but they have the unfortunate tag of being gadgets, because a phone is a gadget, and you'll get the next one when it comes out, and that sort of thing. The So anyway, they have dozens of bezels, dozens of watch dials to pick from, and different straps, or you could go a full metal bracelet if that's what you wanted. And um, there's a lot to like about Seiko because they have this large area of affordable watches, and if you wanted to spend a little more and get a little more, you can do that. And then there's this really weird thing called Grand Seiko, which is essentially a different company in a company, and their watch dials are so beautiful that you often can't really show it via a photograph. You need a really great photographer, and then suddenly this texture comes through, and it can be a really beautiful thing. Of course, you're talking to a watch nut right now, so
Can you see the screen?
yes, I can.
Now, can you choose the option between gear or battery powered? Or is it all battery powered? I
Well,
imagine
this watch
nowadays
shouldn't
it's all
be
battery
battery
powered.
powered. This is an automatic. To a little bit of terminology, if you wind your watch to power it, that's mechanical. If you have a rotor on the back of your watch that winds it for you, that's automatic. And quartz is, of course, battery powered. There are other hybrids that are really interesting, but those are the basics. But what's
That's
really
quite
great is that,
fascinating.
well, they have this really, Seiko has this brilliant movement called the spring drive, and how it works is just as an automatic has a rotor that spins around, and this action powers a capacitor, not a battery, and that provides the power to move the watch along. But you're used to seeing fancy mechanical watches or automatic watches that appear to sweep rather than the familiar click every 1 second from a battery powered watch.
Yeah.
But when you see the minute hand move, what is really going on there is that it's clicking 8 times a second. and that is what is happening with the standard watch. But a spring drive, it's a genuine sweeping minute hand, and it's kind of beautiful. But those watches are quite expensive, and you're not going to pick them up cheap.
This is actually pretty freaking cool. I'm gonna have to grab the link because I used to do the
Yeah.
fixed watches at a Batteries Plus place, so quite interesting to find out about the different ones because we used to like have spare straps and shit for different watches. So it'd be kind of fun to Frankenstein your own little watch.
I mean, that's
A lot
kind
of
of cool,
people
and
do.
I totally want to, but I don't wear watches.
Right. Well, you should start, damn it.
No,
But,
I tried to, and it was just really uncomfortable, and I didn't like it. And they never
Well,
make it my size, and I don't like it. I did used to have one that I would clip on my belt loop. I was fine with that one.
I hate digital
not a bad
watches
idea.
and digital time because it's always shifting. Like for example, like I always have to reset my car with my phone alignment, like in a sense of time, because somehow the car time will catch up 3 minutes or 2 minutes to the actual time because I like to have my car time 5 minutes ahead, but somehow it always gets like 2 or 3 minutes. So I always have to reset it, which I always find odd and fascinating that I have to reset my digital clocks all the time. Like
By the way,
car to the
420, I like the looks of that red dial you just made. Yeah, that looks kind of nice. It's a little
I really
dark,
like that
hard
watch.
to read though.
Hang on, let me see what.
Maybe a different pair of hands.
Oh, that's pretty.
Yeah, but I do like it. The red and gold work well together, sort of in the same color family.
The hands, you're right. The hands are too much like the face.
Strangely, a lot of people like black dial watches. They're very masculine. And sometimes they even have black indices and black hands. And it's kind of weird. They are attractive, but hard to read.
Black work, or should I be going like white? Oh, yes, it's got to match the. Oh, look at that. Oh, Steve, I think I'm gonna buy
I don't
me
know
a
what they're
watch.
charging for this service, though.
Let's see. If I go through with it, select your area. Oh, that's my country name for 20 atheist. Next. Oh, it's already registered. That was my on the. Whoa! You can only
What does
use
it
the
cost?
name once.
Or maybe it doesn't.
Yeah, no, it's already registered the name of the last watch I created.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
So cookies are being used here.
Yeah. How do I buy it?
That's what I'm wondering. I'm in the 1/3 area. Next. Here we go. We see a picture of it. 2/3.
Oh, make
Select
your watch. Here
country.
we go.
Canada.
Oh, it's gonna start
Enter
again.
the name for your watch.
You're kidding me. What is this?
Well,
so you can design it, and that's it.
yeah, they're not. Seiko isn't the first watchmaker to do this, but as far as but it's an enormous watchmaker. The there's a sort of motto, the same way people take Honda Civics and modify them, usually with stupid racing gear that they don't use. Instead, you how to. Oh, it doesn't seem to have a buy option, but I'm going to share mine to Facebook because I'm like that and I want a record.
That's what I should have done.
You know what would be funny? What was I thinking of? Oh, the thought just lost me. Gosh darn it, I hate it when that happens.
You know
Damn it,
who
I
did
hate it.
this once upon a time was Tiffany, the famous jeweler, and they had a deal with their own watches. Some of them are very nice, and they had a make your own watch thing. You would go in and they would curate, and you could get even a very eccentric looking watch if you wanted. Customized watches. Okay, well, at least we can find out what.
I remember what I was gonna say now. I was gonna say it'd be funny to get like a rectangle like watch, right? And then like it's what's it called? Not landscape, portrait mode. So you have a watch that's in portrait mode on your wrist, and the hands, when they hit the side, they just stay on like between 12, 1 and 3, because they can't go any further. Because it's not a circle. And so it's just stuck there as like a bad design, but like a square watch. And the hands just always stay like at the 3 mark because they can't go any further. But you have like the face of the clock all there, the numbers. I don't know. I just thought it would be funny.
I have another link for you guys. It should take you to another Seiko site, and it shows a black on black watch. I don't mean sex, but I just mean where everything except the minute hand is, or the seconds hands is black.
I don't know. I have a clock that I love that everybody else hates it because I don't know why they have a hard time telling the time. I guess because there's no numbers on it, but I'm like, you know where the numbers are. Just fucking look at the clock. There's like symbols and stuff. Like, I don't know. It's all like a Native American thing. And so where the numbers are supposed to be, there's just different like Native American symbols and stuff.
Right.
And so but I don't understand how people don't know what time it is. I'm like, look, clearly that says 3:30. Like, what are you looking at?
Right. It's like a solar disk. It's really odd. Yeah.
There's something some people might like. It's called a GMT watch. Seiko and almost every other watchmaker makes them. And imagine that under that, the hour hand, you had another hand that could be moved. So, for example, I have a friend in Amsterdam, and I could set the hour hand to represent Amsterdam time. And that hour hand, instead of moving in a complete cycle once every 12 hours, would move once every 24 hours. And the bezel, or maybe an interior on the dial, would let you know the 24-hour time, so to speak. And those are really handy features.
Yeah, that's cool.
And the bezel, of course, can rotate. This isn't a proper dive watch, but it's fairly water resistant, not as much as they used to be. So if you had even though you're not a scuba diver, you can set it so that from wherever the minute hand now, the bezel will tell you when 20 minutes have passed. And it's kind of a good way if you're cooking, or if you want to get, you say you tried to phone someone and there was no answer. So you say, well, I'll give them another call in 20 minutes or so. And it's just a reminder on your wrist.
Oh, yeah. Like an original smartphone, smartwatch.
Yeah, imagine
very basic one.
Watches are so personal, And when you get older, you might give it to one of your kids. And because the watch is so associated with you, you're really passing something down to someone. And my dad wore this watch, and I like it, you know, or it's a little bit retro, and I like that too, because everything is always slowly changing. Essentially, one way to look at it is that people will say, "Why do you wear a watch? Why you can find the time out from your phone, but you can't subtly check the time on your phone, but you can subtly check the time on your watch." And so it would be very rude to obviously check the time while you're talking to someone, and you can't do that with a phone. There was something else. No one on their say you're having terrible health problems, and you think you might have to check out in a year or two, and so you write your will. No one writing their will has ever written, "And to my eldest son, I leave you my cellular telephone." But they will say, "My such and such watch."
Yeah,
So,
and I especially like the idea of custom ones with that in mind.
well, remember that it's not the only game in town, and there are not only are there other people who make Seiko style products that you can insert if you're so inclined. There are other people who can do the work for you, and Seiko mods are pretty good because it's not $1 million to get a watch movement from Seiko, you know.
Yeah.
I should shut up now. That's enough watch talk.
Speaking of watches,
Mm.
share my screen. Okay. No sound.
Hello?
Great-grandfather gave this watch to Granddad for good luck. Fortunately, Dane's luck wasn't as good as his old man's. Dane was a Marine, and he was killed, along with all the other Marines at the Battle of Wake Island. Granddad was facing death. He knew it. None of those boys had any illusions about ever leaving that island alive, so 3 days before the Japanese took the island, your Granddad asked a gunner on an Air Force transport named Wanaki, man he never met before in his life, to deliver to his infant son, we'd never seen in the flesh, his gold watch. 3 days later, your Granddad was dead, but Wanaki kept his word. After the war was over, he paid a visit to your grandmother, delivering to your infant father his dad's gold watch. This watch. This watch was on your daddy's wrist when they were shot down on Hanoi. He was captured, put in a Vietnamese prison camp. He knew that if the Gooks ever saw the watch, it'd be confiscated, taken away. The way your dad looked at it, this watch was your birthright. You'd be damned if any slope's gonna put the greasy yellow hands on his boy's birthright. So he hid it. In one place he knew he could hide something, his ass. 5 long years he wore this watch, up his ass. Then he died of dysentery. He gave me the watch. I hid this uncomfortable hunk of metal up my ass 2 years. Then, after 7 years, I was sent home to my family. And now, little man, I give the watch to you.
That is so weird.
That's an amazing scene by Christopher Walken. I bet he did it in one take.
Yeah, I bet he did. Have you
I
seen
like
that
Christopher.
movie?
Yes.
I like Christopher Walker reading Well, he's not quite as good as what's his name? Wartzog? What's Wartzog's first name? I don't
Warner.
remember. He was the best. He was the best though. Reading Go the Fuck to Sleep.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that was that amazing actor who plays Nick Fury.
A lot of
his
people
name-
read it. My favorite two were Christopher Walken and
Yeah.
something Wartzog. I don't know.
Oh, okay. Well, there's
Pixie.
a Herzog. Warner
not that one.
Herzog.
Maybe it's
Then
I
it's
don't know.
someone else.
He has a foreign accent. Very foreign accent. Does not sound okay.
So, I just have to say, Pixie,
Yes.
Pulp Fiction is my all-time favorite movie
Yes.
of all time. You
Wait, I
must
have
see
seen
it
Pulp
for
Fiction.
me.
My favorite.
Oh,
Okay,
that was Pulp Fiction.
I don't remember
Yes.
that scene. I don't know why. I remember the coffee scene.
That's
I liked
just,
the coffee scene.
you know, the boxer.
Yeah.
So, Bruce Willis.
Yeah.
It's just it's a memory he's having when he's about to have a fight.
Okay. Yeah, I've seen that
of
movie. I
his
like that
childhood.
movie. I just don't remember that scene. I always
Yeah.
remember the coffee scene where he's like, "You don't have to tell me my coffee's good. I know my shit's good."
I know my coffee's good because I fucking buy it. When Bunny goes shopping, she buys shit. When I go
Yeah.
shopping, I buy expensive gourmet shit because when I drink it, I want to fucking taste it. And you know what's in my mind right now is not the fucking coffee in my kitchen, okay? It's the dead in my garage. Now, when you came in here, did you see a sign on my garage saying dead storage?
That is the scene I think of right there.
That what's the director's name? I'm blanking.
Quentin Tarantino.
Yeah, that was him acting in the movie for that scene. He's Jimmy.
Well, he did fabulous because that's
Yeah,
the scene I
yeah.
remember.
Yeah.
It's been a long time
Yes.
since I watched that movie.
If Bunny gets
Really long
home
time.
and there's a dead in my garage, I'm gonna get fucking divorced, okay? No trial separation, fucking divorced. And I don't want to get divorced, okay?
By the way, does anyone here have someone they need to buy a gift for who's a superhero fan? You know, maybe you've got a kid who loves the Flash or something like that.
My boy's obsessed with the Hulk.
Let me see if I can check that. The
The Hulk or Spider-Man.
or Spider-Man. Okay, this company I know has a deal with DC. So let me see if I can. DC is, of course, isn't Marvel. Okay, Spider-Man or the Hulk collaboration.
Which is
Oh.
Spider-Man? Marvel.
Spider-Man is Marvel, yeah. I found a company that has a deal with Disney, but I don't think they do their superhero line with them. They don't, which is a shame. But I'll take a search of it just to see. Okay, is Spider-Man or the Hulk? Spider-Man. How
Are
about?
you asking me? Oh.
No, sorry, no. I'm just thinking
Right.
out loud, which is not good. How about Hulk? The thing is you don't want to get a cheap piece of shit that'll last a year and a half and then it's done, because a lot of watches are so cheap. Okay, how about Spider-Man brand watch?
That is so bizarre.
Okay, I found one from Citizen, I should say, and it's expensive. It's $500 US. But at least it's a decent watch. Maybe I can do a little better.
$500 for a kid's watch is a little US is a little pricey.
It's not a kid's watch. It's for an
It's not
adult.
a kid's watch.
You know, there are less expensive watches. Maybe I think I found one here. Okay, currently unavailable.
Of course. Dog had to drop.
You just noticed?
Sorry?
Yeah, did he? Oh, how long ago did he write that? Oh, God, 12 minutes ago.
Who wrote what?
Tog said, I didn't want to interrupt, but got to get going.
Oh.
For some reason, I didn't. It didn't come up in the thing for me just now.
How old are your various kids there, 420?
So about to turn 18, 16, 6, and 2.
Right. Well, the more
So
vulgar.
the 16-year-olds
Yeah.
fairly into Marvel and DC.
Well, I'll tell you what, if you're looking just to, not spend $8 billion, if you just type in the name of the superhero and the word watch, you'll probably find something. The problem is that when you get to like 15 and up, they don't want something that will look gimmicky. And unfortunately, see if I can
have to start spending big money.
Well, it doesn't have to be horrible money, but for example, let me find you that brand I was looking at before that does watches for DC. Here we go. Here's one for Batman, and it's very subtle. Someone wouldn't notice right away that it was a Batman branded watch because it's actually branded Wayne Enterprises. Here we go. I'm posting it in the public chat. Here is in private. Now let's see. Now if I can get back to it. This is a company called Undone. And this one is US is 359. And you can see on the back, there are little the pictures are to the far left of the screen, so you can see the strap in detail, the box it comes in, that sort of shit. And the watch face, I think, is really good. This is a really masculine looking watch. It's always good to check the sizes.
Pretty decent looking, isn't it?
Yeah, and these guys are actually good at this. Why isn't it telling me the size? Okay, it's telling me everything except the size of the watch. Dimensions,
Okay.
there it is. 40 millimeters excluding crown. That is fine. If your kid is a bit on the small size, it'll be a bit large on them, but that's okay. They'll certainly grow into it. They had one for the Flash that I thought was absolutely beautiful and really surprised me.
How does the tachymeter work?
Oh, well, this is a thing to measure how much fuel you're spending while you're. You can also use it, I think, to calculate speed. But you count X number of seconds and then click the stopwatch. But I own a tachymeter watch. I have one right with me now, and damn, I don't know how to use it. I just like the watches. Okay, here's one I'm putting into private and public chat, the one for the Flash. And it's really kind of subtle in what they did. Where's the public chat? Here we go. So if you go to the Flash link I've just included, what they've done is that the seconds hand has a slight tweak in it, so it looks like a lightning bolt. And the Flash symbol is on the dial, but it's subtle. It's not designed to be. For example, if someone were doing an Australian watch and they put a big goddamn kangaroo over here and the hour sign was a big goddamn koala bear, you would get sick of it really quickly. But if they had some subtle reference to Captain Cook or
maybe just a didgeridoo.
Yeah, sure. So anyway, the Flash one, that's a rotating bezel, so it can again serve as a reminder. And people might look at this and say, that's a nice watch. It's a conversation starter. That's how my watches have worked for me in another way. But, of course, if your kid doesn't like the Flash or doesn't care, this isn't much of a...
Oh. It's just colors.
Mm.
Do they do a whole range? Like,
oh yeah, they have. If you, but remember, this is for DC, not Marvel.
oh,
I'm
DC
going to look
only.
around.
Okay.
Yeah. Marvel watches. Maybe I can find someone who does something similar for. The problem is all sorts of people. Here we go.
Look at the Aquaman watch.
Oh, how's that? Is it good? Oh, it's probably the bronze one.
What was it? Am I not sharing the page? Oh yeah.
Let me see.
It's the gold one here.
Yeah, that's probably bronze.
The bronze, yeah.
And it's got the Aquaman symbol on it. What's something good about bronze is that it gains a bit of a patina while you wear it, so your watch becomes rather unique because someone else's the exact same watch won't look like yours.
Oddly, I prefer like brass and copper to other metals.
Yeah. Okay, I found a link for Marvel watches. Let me see if I can.
Wonder Woman?
You want a Wonder Woman watch?
No, I'm just seeing them here.
Oh, okay.
I did. I typed DC into that website you linked me to.
I found a Hulk watch. What do you know? It's on sale.
Harley Quinn.
Yeah, Harley Quinn and Joker. Harley Quinn is an incredibly favorite character these days. Okay, where is that?
Which is weird.
Yes, because it never started in the comics. They just created her for an animated show, and people loved her.
Well, and I don't understand the whole like fascination with like Joker and Harley. I'm like, do you even know what he did to her?
Oh, he's horrible.
Like, do you know? I'm like, if you want like a dark, like awesome couple, why not like Morticia and Gomez or something? What is this fascination with Harley and Joker?
Well, Harley is her own thing now. She's not with the Joker anymore, which is good. Because I never liked them as a couple. Here is a link to a watch I don't like, but it's supposed to be a Hulk watch, except it doesn't have the Hulk on it.
So, Pixie, here in StreamYards,
Mm-hmm.
if you see a comment you want to highlight or comment on, if you click it because you're a mod, so click one and see what happens. She may have stepped away.
No, I'm here. It just says, like, where? Just right there? It says star comment, put user in timeout, or block user.
That right in the middle. There you go.
Oh, yay!
See, you can put people's things up on screen. And then you click it again to make it go away. Sorry, go on, Big Z.
No, I didn't. I only subject my friends to so much watch talk because it becomes, it's just a little weird. If you're looking for a watch for someone, also swatches, they wouldn't have branded content, but they might really appeal to kids. So if you look up Swatch, they aren't too expensive, and they're even collectible. So
only 245.
Yeah, the problem with the 245 Hulk watch is that it doesn't have a goddamn Hulk on it. It's just sort of green and has a radiation symbol. Now you can certainly find other watches. And a fist, yeah. But anyway, if you ever have any, is this brand a good brand? If I don't have an answer to the question, I can probably find out kind of easily. So
I was recently looking at watches, but now that you've showed me about custom ones, I think I'm going to go down that route.
Yeah, and pardon me.
Sorry, I was going to comment to Sandy. My logo wasn't showing in someone's stream in the chat the other day. I think in Wild Hearts. Big Z's is showing.
That's because I'm a delight.
But you can see, look, Sandy's got no picture. Math Pigs is working. Look, mine's mine. Look at mine.
Yeah.
So it's me and Sandy. That's.
Really I see your logo in the upper right-hand corner.
Yeah. That's like that's a StreamYard watermark.
Mm-hmm.
It shows that I pay for this shit. But yeah, me and Sandy, that's a YouTube thing. YouTube is not showing our logos in the YouTube chat.
Oh. Well, let's see.
YouTube.
Well, I don't know what to say. I see MathPig. I see Sandy's logo.
So
She says it's
Mathpig,
missing. It's still missing the logo, but
yeah, can you see how she doesn't have a
okay.
picture?
So it doesn't show the logo when you highlight his. I don't. Sorry, Sandy. I don't know your gender. Um.
Yeah, Sandy's a she.
Okay.
And but like our little icon, our picture's not there in the chat. If you have a look.
Math Pigs is there. Way to go, Math Pig.
Just want to have a look on my phone. No icons. That is really strange. YouTube, get your act together.
Mine shows.
Yeah. Pixies is there. I don't know what they've got against me and Sandy.
Mm.
No idea. I can't explain that. Hmm. Oh, that's right. I was going to look at Math Pigs. Yeah. So I'll share this actually. Because everyone has to go to their Twitter, go to MathPigs page and vote on what color birthday suit. So we're getting him a full body spandex what do you call
That doesn't help. What shade of red and green and blue?
Well, pretty bright. That sort of suit. It's almost like fire truck red, royal blue, um, what do you green screen green, or we're calling it Irish skin color because Math Pig felt he can say that because he's Irish. Because we were heaps worried to say skin tone, people will be like, well, whose skin tone? And then he thought Caucasian. He thought, no, I can't write Caucasian.
Be right back.
The poor guy, he's stressed over what to write here. But that's my vote, actually. Oh, look. Everyone wants the skin tone. Lovely. Everyone has to vote for that. That was my choice. Because I said, as close as we need to get you as close to nude as possible. So if a nude colored bodysuit is it, that's what he's gonna stream in for his birthday stream. So that'll be fun.
That's not as naked as possible. That would be naked as possible for a female. Naked as possible for a male is probably like, I don't know, some sort of leotards only.
Well, yeah.
Because males can only do things we females can't.
I was looking at different suits. I'll just say that much. But he kind of steamrolled and said, no, just a bodysuit. Just
there you
what
go,
color?
Sandy. The skin toned Speedo. There you go.
Oh. So, he could possibly be listening at work. Hopefully not. But no colored Speedo. No, fuck the mankini. That's too much. Speedo. Definitely. Yeah, because he did the green mankini. I can't remember what that was the stream for.
I think it was a birthday stream. I don't know. Y'all are hilarious, though. I'll give you guys that.
Yeah. It's fun. Head would clash with his beard. I don't blame you, Sandy. I'm so terrible on Twitter. I never go there. It's too
I dropped
too
in about
toxic.
I dropped in about a month ago to send a message to Beck. That's about it.
I go there when people say, message me on Twitter.
Yeah, not even then. I'm like, no, I'll message you somewhere else, or when I go to Twitter in like another couple of months to say hey to somebody else.
A Speedo in tiger stripes.
Oh, but what are you looking at now?
So
Yeah.
we're
Oh, it's photo.
deciding, we're deciding on what to get Math Pig for his birthday. So he wants a full body spandex suit, and he's put a poll on Twitter for people to vote on the color. But it was meant to go that I was meant to choose 4 types of suit for him to wear for his birthday, and he was going to get them voted on Twitter. But somehow it wound up that he chose 1 suit and 4 colors. But we're not happy with that, so we're sort of tossing up between flesh-colored Speedo, a tiger striped Speedo, a skin-colored mankini, and we just need a 4th option. And that'll be the real poll to decide what he's going to wear for his birthday. He just doesn't know it yet. So what would you like to see Math Pig in, Big Z?
Well,
I know you think about this all the time.
yes, it's my first thought is that there are, those wonderful horse and zebra masks. What if there's a pig mask? And so he would actually look like a pig.
Yeah. So a pig in a Speedo?
Sure.
Is that what you're saying?
Well, a pig mask and maybe some pig skin style Speedo, or at least the color works. Let me see.
Oh.
There it is.
Sandy!
Yes, dear. Good day, mate.
G'day.
I have a new microphone that will make this so much nicer to be. There's my logo.
There you go.
We can see it. Awesome.
Hey, Sandy.
I'm actually going to try and track down pink Speedos with a little curly pigtail. And the pig mask.
I just gave myself a headache. I had an echo. I had the stream open.
Yes.
I
I think everyone does that constantly.
Yeah, but I didn't give it to you, did I? I had my headset on.
No, didn't hear anything. Your sound's good.
It should sound good. It should not have any. I've been testing it. It should not pick up the dog chewing on the bone, which is what he's doing right now. It shouldn't be picking up the air filter, which is running.
I don't hear any of that, so
good.
It's good.
Yeah. It wasn't the most.
Sorry, I talked over you.
That's okay. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, often people worry that you'll hear the fan or you'll hear the traffic outside. And for some reason, mics are just sometimes good at filtering that out. And it's just not as bad as you might think.
That was weird. It showed, I hit my mute button and it showed me coughing. Did you hear me coughing?
No.
Yes.
You did hear me cough.
Yeah.
Well, that's fucked.
Um,
That would mean that StreamYards is overriding my mute button. Let me just hit the mute button on the mic again. You don't mind? Let me test a little thing here.
Yeah, okay.
Can you still see? You can still hear me.
Yeah. That's what I found on my mic.
No, well, I mean, it works on Discord.
I can't.
It works on Discord. The mute button works on Discord. But now I know it does not work on StreamYards. Well, StreamYards can bite my butt.
Yeah.
Oh,
I found that and I thought it was a fault with my microphone.
No. I think it's depending on the software.
StreamYard thing.
Yeah. That's not cool.
No, that means you've still got to check it each platform you go to.
It may. Oh, look! It's StreamYards that has our logos hidden, not YouTube.
No, it's both.
I know. I just know on the public hangout, my logo shows on YouTube. But on StreamYards, if you click on the comment section, my logo is missing. All right, sorry. This is the old programmer in me that's like diagnosing the problem, and I should probably stop. They're not going to pay me for it. Why should I?
Yeah, look, it's missing on YouTube as well. So StreamYard just picks up whatever YouTube has, but because YouTube's missing your and my logos, StreamYard doesn't have anything to pick up.
But I added my logo when I entered the room, so StreamYards had it. I'll tell you what, I'm going to do another. I'm going to move.
Oh, yeah. No,
I don't know when Sammy
has it on the screen, like you have it as your main camera thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean in the chats you have no logo.
Yeah, I can't see a logo in the chat for either of you.
Yeah, but if you look on the YouTube stream.
No, I mean like even in the stream. I went to the stream and I can't see either of y'all's.
Oh, I can see it on the YouTube stream. This is probably a case of software not communicating properly, because this is not something I've ever seen happen before.
You know, my theory with these sorts of problems is come back tomorrow. It might be fixed or it might be a different problem next time. So it's not worth the heartache.
Yeah, I can tell you, they don't pay me enough to debug their product, and that's exactly what I used to do. So nope, I'll go fix it.
And for me, I just figure I can't do shit about it. So I could probably try and change my image and see what happens, maybe.
No, it won't work.
Right, no.
No, whatever it is, the handshake isn't there between the products this morning. It's the first time I've ever seen that happen. It's nothing that we're doing, I don't think, Sammy. And you know how rare it is for me to go into a live chat with anyone.
Yes, I'm honored.
Well, I'm trying to get past my hermitage.
Well, luckily,
yeah. Well,
luckily, Sammy and Zebra make that easy. Well, easier.
I'm sorry, I couldn't understand what you said.
Oh, I said luckily, Sammy and Zebra make that easier.
Oh, Sammy's my love bug. Sammy's just a loving person.
We've had a snuggling affair for quite some time.
Yeah, he likes to snuggle with old ladies just like he likes to snuggle with everybody else.
Yeah, I'm not choosy. And wow, we go way back, and Sandy just seemed to be everywhere I was always. We just the same. It's on the same wavelength, I guess. We like the same channels and streams, and I like the cut of Sandy's jib. Very straightforward.
I'm really trying not to be quite as blunt, but it's not going to change. The only thing I hope to change is my vehement reactions to dumbasses.
I don't know. Sometimes I can be really, really blunt, and sometimes I can be really thoughtful about the words I choose. It just depends. But I'm a contradiction that way.
Yeah. I know where mine comes from, and I'm tired of having it, so I'm just trying to be the me that I would rather be than the reactionary damn witch that I can be. And, you know, recent events have just hit so hard and brought up so much contention amongst friends over something that shouldn't even be issues. It's kind of, I'm tired of seeing it split friends apart. So I'm going to do my best not to let my own issues split us apart anymore. Because Sammy knows I'll go into hiding and stay in hiding.
Oh, I've done that. I wasn't even here for a year before I was like, break time. I'm disappearing for a while.
Well, my bad habit is to fling my anger at people who don't deserve it. And that's the habit I'm trying to break. You have a new viewer.
I think my bad habit is indifference. Indifference and ghosting. Those are my bad habits. Like, there comes a point where, like, I can be, and I don't mean indifference as in, like, I don't care if you're doing good or bad. I mean, like, I am absolutely indifferent to you breathing. Like, I'm just indifferent to you, period. And ghosting. I'm really good at that. Those are my bad habits.
We must have dated at one point. If you haven't ghosted me yet, you're missing out. Oh, that was dumb.
That was cute. And light and appreciated.
Sorry,
yeah, on online dating, I'm pre-ghosted. I haven't even talked to them yet. And
I tried online dating once, but not seriously, just for fun to see if it would match me with the person I was dating.
Yes.
And they got like 20 matches, and I got a Dear John letter from eHarmony in like 6 months and a year saying that there was no people in their database that they could match me with.
That is hilarious, as long as you don't find it disturbing.
I actually married the guy, so like it didn't.
Okay.
But I just thought it was funny because I got rejected by eHarmony twice after a whole year. There was nobody in their database that they found compatible with me.
What did you have as your profile?
You just answer all these questions about like what you value, like where what you value more, like what kind of person you are, like are you spontaneous, are you like, you just answer all these questions, and apparently I'm not compatible with anybody.
Wow.
Well, you put down that human sacrifice thing, and people
get
put off, They don't want to participate.
Yeah.
The look on Sammy's face, he's like, after a year?
Yeah. Yeah, even that cannibal in Germany found someone to match up with.
Yeah, no, apparently nobody's compatible with me. I don't know.
I think that just means eHarmony is a shit site.
I used to write for Match.com. They had a magazine website. Maybe they still do. And I wrote all these articles for them until I couldn't take it anymore.
Say that again. I feel like that was a joke and we missed it.
No, it's not a joke. I wrote for Match.com. They have a magazine.
Did, really?
Yeah.
What sort of things did you write?
Oh, well, they discovered I had a sense of humor, so they would end up giving me articles like top 10 pickup lines at a Halloween party. And I could do it, but I'd give myself the writer's equivalent of an ice cream headache, and going through all the things about Halloween, pumpkins, can I make a joke about that? Nerdy stuff, can I make a joke about that? Oh wait, that joke is funny, but I didn't write it. That was in a National Lampoon magazine. And I'd go through all these. Anyway, I did all this stuff, and I often wrote articles on weird things like, I remember cooling things off when things get hot, when you don't want to sleep with someone right away, even though you want to. I had to write an article about that. Long story short is that they did something that I thought was terrible. Just when I was absolutely desperate for money, they said they had an emergency and they needed articles on the following 30 topics, like right now. So I found 6 of them, sent back a request. Yes, I'll write these 6 for you, just say when. And then they never got back to me. So I had this thing dangled in front of me that would solve my financial problems, and then got nothing. And then a while later, they said they were moving to a different editorial process. And that was, you write whatever article you want, send it to them, they'll tell you yes or no, and if the answer is no, you can sell it to someone else. But the reality of it is no one else would want these things.
Yeah.
So it was just kind of annoying, and at the time, my ability to take bullshit was really low. And I just decided I can't do this anymore. And, it may not have been the smart decision, but it was the one I needed.
My ability to take bullshit broke so many years ago, it's not even funny.
I love that meme that goes around that's like, I don't give a fuck, but like in like Victorian terms, like, behold the field in which I grow my fucks, lay thine eyes upon it and see that it is barren.
That's brilliant.
Yeah, I can't be that way. The day I stop caring I'm gonna be in the crematorium. I just have to recognize this about myself, that I actually care entirely too much especially about people I respect and like. I'm trying to learn how not to care about the assholes. I don't know if I'm capable of it, but I'm trying.
I'm always a contradiction. It depends on who you are. Either I don't give a flying fuck or I care too much. There's little in between.
Yeah, that.
Talking
Sammy,
with a muted mic.
Yeah, I was going to say you're muted.
God damn it. We're about to be joined by Tobin.
Tobin!
Get in. And when he gets in, actually, I'll just share it now. You've probably all seen this, but just what we're talking about made me think of this, and it's in honor of Andy's show and Andy. Let's have a halftime belly rub, tummy rub, halftime tummy rub. And I'm going to share this little video. I don't have things prepared like Andy, though, so you'll just have to bear with me while I share.
I tried, and I tried even more. I cried, and I can't recall what for. I pressed, I pushed, I yelled, and begged and hoped of some success. But the inevitable fact is that it never will impress. I've no more fucks to give, my fucks have run dry. I tried to go fuck shopping, but there's no fucks left to buy. I've no more fucks to give, the more fucks I've tried to get. I'm over my fuck budget and I'm now in fucking debt. I strive to get everything done. I play by all the rules, but I very rarely won. I've smiled at times, I would have laughed, alas, to no avail. I'd run round like a moron to unequivocally fail. I've no more fucks to give, my fuck fuse has just blown. I've been hunting for my fucks all day, but they've upped and fucked off home. I've no more fucks to give, my fuck rations are depleted. I've rallied my fuck army, but it's been fucking defeated. The effort has just not been worth the time or the expense. I've exhausted all my energy for minimal recompense. The complete form of acknowledgement has now begun to go, and I've come to realize that I don't give a fuck. I've no more fucks to give. My fucks have blown away. My fucks are now so fucked up they refuse to fucking stay. I've no more fucks to give. My fucks have gone insane. They've come back round and passed me while they're fucking off again. I've no more fucks to give. My fucks have all dissolved. I plan many projects, but my fucks won't be involved. I've no more fucks to give. My fucks have all been spent. They fucked off from the building and I don't know where they went. I've no more fucks to give. I've no more fucks to give. I've no more fucks. I've no more fucks. I've no more fucks to give. Thank you very much.
That was great.
Yeah, that was inspired.
No more fucks to give.
And that shows because they did that show in a shop full of suits.
Yeah. It's a strange venue, to be sure.
Wasn't it?
But appropriate, considering the suit, the three-piece suit the singer was wearing.
Hmm. It's Oh, we've got someone in the back. It's Mr. T.
Hello.
Hello.
In the flesh. Oh, looks nice where you are.
What's
How's
up?
that? Can you hear us?
Yeah.
Hello.
Good to
Can
see
you hear me?
here.
Yeah,
we can hear
likewise.
you.
Wow, best ever, Tobin. That's a much better scene outside than inside your house.
Yeah, it is a nice time of the day right now. The shade is on
Yeah.
my.
Sorry, that came off insulting. That, oh, your house doesn't look that good. I just meant it looks better outside.
Yeah, you know, get some fresh air.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's been getting warm down here. I don't know about y'all, but it's been warm.
Oh.
We finally dipped below 100, but it's in the high 90s.
Well, I have to convert that to know what you're talking about.
Oh, did we lose?
Oh,
No,
yeah.
he's still there.
30,
Good.
37. So, did I freeze for a minute there? Did I?
No, I was paying attention.
Yeah, I had to convert that. So 100 degrees Fahrenheit is 37 degrees Celsius. That's pretty hot.
It was 107 the other day.
Oh.
But we're dry heat. We don't have the humidity.
Okay, that answers that question.
It's like a blow dryer. You walk out and it's really windy here, so you walk outside and it's like a blow dryer, like, but it's dry. There's not a lot of there's very rarely humidity here.
What were you going to say, Sandy?
I was going to ask her which desert she lived in, but I know she lives in a desert and it doesn't
No,
matter.
no, I don't. It's a semi-desert. I do live close to a canyon, though.
Oh.
It's actually temperate here. In the winter, it gets. It's so weird because I came from somewhere that like the temperature would get colder, but it didn't feel as cold there as it feels here. Because even in the dead of winter, you still have that wind, that just crazy wind. And so you go outside and it's cold, and then you have this icy wind just blasting you, and it's like to your bones cold.
Are you far from Pixie?
Sorry.
Because, that's all right. Because Pixie's in Texas.
Yeah, but Texas is awfully big. Texas is awfully big.
It's the biggest state, isn't it? It's like...
No, it's second to Alaska.
Of course.
But given the green outside, I'm assuming he's much further south than I am. Or east, one of the two.
That's a pretty good guess. I'm almost smack dab in the middle.
Okay. I'm pretty close to the top. Like I can be in New Mexico in no time. And it would take me longer to get to Austin than it would take me to get to Denver, Colorado.
Oh my god. Yeah, you are far north. For sure.
Yeah, I can get to Denver quicker than I can get to Austin.
Right on. That's a state I haven't got to visit yet, and I'm looking forward to being able to travel there one day.
I was born in Denver. I miss Colorado.
So
My favorite
how
food is still in
long-
New Mexico, though.
Staying on highways and
Hello.
hey Silver,
Hello.
freeways
Hi.
or whatever you
Three ways?
free.
Staying on
F-
three ways?
Freeways.
Ah, three ways. That's what she said.
Mhm.
How long would it take to drive from the north to the south of Texas?
Ooh.
I'm going
That's
to
a good
Google.
question.
I'm going to Google. Hold on.
I'm gonna take a
Like,
guess,
is
and it's gonna be
yeah.
somewhere in between 20 and 30 hours. From the
Holy
Say
being
that's
south-
an overestimate, but that's me.
yeah. That,
if you're a person who goes the speed limit, and maybe
and
take
you
some
probably
breaks. Yeah.
and you stop pretty often too, I bet.
I do. Yeah. I don't play around with getting sleepy behind the wheel. Like if I even feel slightly remotely like I need a nap, I will pull over.
Yeah, good on you.
Well,
But
you could be,
I'm
you
just
could be
terrible.
close if you do back roads, but I still say I can do that drive in one day.
Yeah. Because I can get from where I am, and I'm pretty low in New South Wales, like into Queensland.
Okay, here it is. Got the answer. But this would have to be like roads empty. Like you have no traffic because every major city is going to slow you down by a lot. So, if roads were completely empty and you included the newer like 80-mile-an-hour speed limits in certain places, it would take and you only stopped when it was absolutely necessary to fill your tank. It would take between 12 and 14 hours to go east to west, but closer to 15 if you took more than filling up your car brakes. And that's just east to west. North and south, nobody really wants to touch that, but the closest like reasonable estimate is about 20 hours. Minimum. And that's only stopping for gas
And that's
and gas
not
alone.
stopping and all that. So Table's probably right, 30 hours.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and it's also a factor that there's no major interstates going north to
No,
south. So
you
you
have
have
to-
to do it entirely on back roads. That makes sense.
Either that or you'd have to take I-40 south. Like if you were going south, you would take I-40 as far as it would go, but then you'd probably have to exit on the interstate. But then you'd have to exit the interstate. You'd probably have to take, what is it? Not Highway 358. That's going north. You'd have to take there's this like system of highways where you take one that leads into another, and then you'll hit that for a little bit, and then it leads into another, and then yeah.
Okay.
And then there's I-25, but that goes the opposite direction. That east to west, north and south, it's I-40.
So Texas is pretty damn big then.
Yeah.
And Texas might be the only state in the union where I-40 goes north and south when it's really an east-west road.
Oh, I had it backwards. Sorry. I-25 is north-south, I-40 is east-west. There we go. So you'd have to take I-40, but then you'd have to take I-40, but then you'd have to take they keep renaming it. It used to be Veterans Highway, and then you would have to loop to I-27, and then you'd have to take I-27, but then I-27 is not going to get you all the way down there. It's going to dead end, and you're going to have to take another one.
Yeah, and the way to keep track of those is the even numbered roads are east-west, and the odd number roads are north.
Or north-south. Yeah. Got it backwards.
Yeah.
And I think I got it backwards because, like I said, those north-south roads don't like to go all the way. And so when I'm heading north, I will still head out west on I-40 and then hit my highways. So I link it to north, even though I know it's west.
No, he went back in the stream and listened.
It was tiger stripes, not leopard print.
But that's another good idea.
Yeah, get
actually,
it right,
leopard
Math
print.
Pig. I said tiger stripes, not leopard print.
Roger, good to see you. My fellow 420.
Thank you. I had those headphones on, and I started noticing, man, it is awfully quiet. And then I was like, wait a minute, the sound is coming from my phone. I feel silly.
Hey guys, I'm going to sign off. But it's been real.
No
Thank you for having
me.
me.
Good to see you.
Bye.
Edit.
So what
Hello,
time is
Silver.
it for you, Tobin? Oh, hi, Silver.
10:38.
Yes, 10:38.
We're in the same time zone.
And it.
So how long did it take to get from New South Wales to the other side?
I
missed that.
10 hours. 10 hours. And that's going, so we pretty much can go 110 kilometers an hour the whole way. Let me convert that for you. So 110 kilometers is to meters to miles. 70 miles an hour.
Texas gets up to 80 in places. But then you hit New Mexico and it sucks because on average, New Mexico is 5 to 10 under everything Texas does, right? Like our school zones are 20 miles per hour, their school zones are 15 miles per hour. Our residentials are 30, their residentials are 25, right? And so you'll be like going the highway speed, you'll be going 80, 85 realistically, because who always goes the speed limit? And then all of a sudden, per hour, yeah. And then all of a sudden, you're like in New Mexico and you feel like you're crawling. You're like, gosh, I feel like I'm like taking forever. Or you'll hit a residential town in New Mexico and you have to like speed down to like 25, 35, and you're like, I'm not even moving.
You can go 85 miles an hour.
Well, no, you're not supposed to go 85. 85 is speeding. But the speed limit speed limit in certain places is 80. Yeah.
That's 130 clicks. Holy shit. That's moving.
And these assholes down here will speed their ass off. Like there's a good chunk of people out here who pay no mind to the speed limit. That is for sure.
Oh, I love the way they drive in Denver. I miss drive. My mom hates driving in Denver. She always made me drive. She refuses to drive there. But I like it because I understand their rules. First of all, everybody's speeding, all right? You're not even going to get pulled over for a ticket if you're not going at least, 10, 15 miles above the speed limit. Then you're not going to get pulled over for a ticket. Everybody's speeding by at least 10, 15 miles an hour. And like, people think they're rude, but the thing is they just understand each other because there's so much congestion. It's like if I put my blinker on, I'm not asking you, I'm telling you, and they will make room for me. But at the same time, if they put their blinker on, they're not asking you, they are telling you. And I think that scares a lot of people who aren't used to it, but they've learned to like just make room for each other and keep going.
Right.
And it's
you better keep up or get the out of the way.
Yeah. And we have places like that here in Australia. The issue is only when outsiders come in. So people from out of state or people coming in from overseas or whatever who don't have that mentality, and the whole thing falls apart.
Yeah, then they get scared. They hit their
you've
brakes too hard. They speed up too much. They cause accidents. It's crazy.
yeah.
Thing though is like the high speed accidents are brutal. It's sad. Like here, there's a remember Josie, or it's some kind of remembrance, because this is a young girl who was hit, and it was a hit and run. And there's other cases of that happened here. We know a woman who was jogging on the side of the road and got clipped by the side mirror, and she's not the same no more. Like, and that person just took off. Like, those kind of incidences are horrible. We had a state trooper who was rushing to get to a robbery and was speeding well over 100 miles per hour. And there was another cop who was also going to the same robbery. And if I remember correctly, he was stopped or slowly moving to the scene, and the other cop ran right into him. Car tumbled like several times and then threw the trooper into a fence and stuck his head in it. Like, those kind of accidents are like brutal. Like, working in the towing industry and like basically cleaning up the mess after these things.
Yeah.
It's gnarly. It is freaking gnarly.
I don't know if Brojo was talking to Tobin or Odin, but Brojo said to you, Tobin, smoke another one.
Right on. Okay.
And then, but he said you already smoked, no?
Oh yeah. I had my breakfast, my coffee, got a little bowl in, and then saw this link pop up, and I was like, hey, let me go say hi to some friends. Yeah, I visited his channel before.
Okay.
He does some of the karaoke's and stuff like that. Yeah.
I wasn't sure if he was talking to you when he said, do you already smoke? Like, do you know Tobin?
And on that, like on the weed thing, marijuana, it's crazy because down here, like a lot of the jobs, want you to do a piss test. I mean, there are a bunch of them that you don't have to. A lot of the restaurant industry doesn't. But if you want to go into another field, you're most likely going to be drug tested. And like the drugs that really make people not function very well in job environments, most of those drugs get out of your system so quickly. And like it's kind of like weeding out the potheads.
Yeah,
I see it as kind of like a discrimination against people who enjoy.
That shit stays in there for months.
Yeah.
And especially when it's like just being legalized, left, right, and center, or at least decriminalized, if not legalized.
Yeah, but it's going to remain a problem for anybody who has to work a job that's covered with worker compensation. Because if you get hurt on the job, even if you can function while token, and trust me, I can, if you get hurt on the job, you are going to not get your worker compensation if you have been token anytime within. What they need to do is they need to come up with a test that shows how affected you are by THC. That would be fair. That would be fair.
Thing is, though, is it's much like caffeine to me. Like the effects of it, like how I actually feel whenever I don't smoke, is very similar to how whenever like I don't really feel the effects. It's kind of like drinking a Coca-Cola, you know, like there's caffeine in there, but I don't know if it's actually going to give me any kind of like.
Well, when you're a regular smoker, it's more like maintaining an anti-anxiety level that is beneficial to everyone.
I just think I'm less hyper and more relaxed. I think it slows my thoughts down. I think that's what I would say it does for me.
It keeps me from getting angry at people, which is why I've been getting so angry in the last 6 months.
But I think like slowing my thoughts down is part of what helps with that anger, right? Because then I can process better, I think. Like everything's not, but I tend to have like, okay, my thoughts are crazy. My thoughts are very, very fast moving, and I rarely have just one thought. It's like all these thoughts bouncing around, competing for attention, right? Like just all these thoughts everywhere. And sometimes I'll grab one and run with it, right? But I think smoking helps with that. Like there's less rabbit trails, I guess.
Well, I'm very similar to both of you. Without it, like my thoughts are just all over the place. I'm much more focused when I have it, and I'm angry as fuck when I don't have it. Not that I'm angry, because I'm generally okay. I get angry at stupidity real easy. I have no patience for.
Okay, I'll say it's harder to irritate me.
Ultra high expectations of people. It's like
yes.
You know, if I can do this, why the fuck can't you? Sort of thing.
Okay, I will say it's easier to irritate me if I'm not smoking, but I don't know how much of that is my thoughts and how much of that is just like an additional. I don't know.
Well, I think it ought to be added to everybody who's ever had any form of PTSD. I think we ought to be able to get it legally everywhere in the United States in order to help us combat the reactions that we have under triggering situations. That's just what I think. And Uncle Sam, if you're listening, legalize that crap already.
Please.
Right? And just do it federally. Just get it done federally.
Yeah, federally.
Get it done.
Well, that's what I mean. But of course, now with the new return to states' rights issues, I guess we're not going to get that anytime soon.
Isn't it funny how they say they want to return to states' rights because they want less government, but by erasing one federal protection, you usually get many, many more regulations from each state, right? So you're actually getting more government. It's local government, but you're not getting less government. You're getting more government because you didn't want the federal government to have one protection. And that seems weird to me.
And it kind of already is this. The United States is essentially a bunch of little countries. And the more power is given to the states, the more they become their own little countries. Where you can literally go to one and be put in prison for having an abortion or smoking a joint, and then step over a line and it's perfectly okay. That is like going into a different country.
Exactly, but explain to me how that end result is less government and not more government. Because they keep saying they want less government, but I just keep seeing them build up more government, and just because it's local, they're like, "Oh, this is good." And I'm like, "No, but you're doing more government.
50 governments, you know.
Well, no, I mean like even locally, right? Like let's pretend each of them are their own little country. Even locally, if you take the federal government and you say, anything like I don't know, but you just take away one protection, right? Like interracial marriage, right? They say that's no longer a protected thing, right? Well, now you have one protection taken away, right? But now you have a state that can be like, oh, we're going to put this stipulation on it, we're going to regulate it that way, or we're going to say it's okay to do this and not okay to do that, or we're going to, but the end result is still more government.
That sounds true. It really does. I have to say goodbye though. It was. Thank y'all for inviting me, and I wish y'all a good day, and I look forward to future interactions.
Later days, Tobin.
Have a good day, Tobin. See you, bro. Problem is federal overreach. See,
See, the problem is federal overreach was never quite defined because what was given to the federal government was very, very vague and not very well defined, and everything outside of that was given to quote unquote the states. But the Constitution knew its limitations and was made to be very mutable in ways we have failed to take advantage of. And despite this overreach, the government is slow moving, very slow moving. And what one administration does, the next administration tries to undo. I would say the bigger problem is actually in the bureaucracies, but whatever. And the corporate oligarchy. And the two-party system in general.
To see Spooky? Yeah.
Hey, Spooky.
It's so hard, and I see, because I fully see the problem with big government when you have a bad government. But that's sort of one issue. That's bad government. That's not saying federal laws are a bad thing. You know what I mean? Like,
No, I get it. I get it. My thing is, I just don't see how they think making it local is gonna, like, taking it away from the federal government's going to solve anything when the state governments are just as corrupt and are doing the same things. And it's these state representatives that are in Congress causing these problems. So I don't know how taking away one federal protection and giving states power to just regulate the fuck out of these things in the same corrupt manner that they're doing in Congress is somehow the better approach.
Yeah. It just befuddles me.
I'm definitely not high enough to discuss this. Because I'm not high at all yet.
What state are you in, Sandy?
Who, me?
Yeah.
I'm in the great state of North Carolina, which has yet to follow suit with the other southern states. And if we get a new governor of the other side, we very well could, because we've done some pretty stupid things in North Carolina.
We don't even have a hope of getting a governor from the other side.
Government in added agencies and budgets. Too stoned to understand that. What's that mean, Pixie?
He's correct. Both sides have grown. They've built the governmental powers up, and they get to vote on their own budgets, which is fantastic. They get to give themselves raises, but and they have done a lot of these things. But they've also done a lot of these things with the help of corporations, right? Which is a sign of the people's apathy towards the two-party system. And I think it is both amusing and disheartening that people think that the answer is to take away federal power, but give it to the states, knowing that the people representing the states are the same people making a mess of the federal government, and not only taking away from the federal government, but allowing them to take it to the states with a bunch of new regulations, because the federal government has no reach to say no anymore. It's more government. It's the same people that we're complaining about in Congress that are going to do these things on state levels. It doesn't make any sense. It just does not make any sense. That argument just falls flat on its face, because it's not about less government. That's not what's happening. It's ridiculous.
So, I guess to say it bluntly, then what's the solution? More power back to federal government?
No. Okay. The problem with this idea that they're stepping outside of their bounds, right, goes back to the vagueness, right? So the federal government is supposed to be the protection of life, liberty, and property, right? A little bit later, they added commerce because of trade between the states. They can tax for militia, hence the military and the army with their ever expanding, ever increasing budget that just keeps getting approved. And things like that, right? Now, we didn't start out with a two-party system. That wasn't in the plan, all right? So outside of these limited federal powers, everything else was granted to the state, okay? So we didn't start out with a two-party system. We started out with people running on ideas. And yes, there were still mudslinging, god-awful smear campaigns back then. But and people would get elected. Shortly after we started, though, it did become a two-party system. Jefferson and Adams had a lot to do with that. Washington was like, do not do this, but we did it anyway. Okay, so now we have this two-party system. Now, it's divisive, it's not great, but it's not a terrible problem yet. Okay. Later, we have the reinterpretation of the 14th Amendment. This is somewhat that, and well, before the reinterpretation of the 14th Amendment, you have the Thurgood Marshall's judicial review. You have the finding of judicial review, and then later you have the reinterpretation of the 14th Amendment, which starts bringing into question government overreach, right? Like, what qualifies as the protection of life? What qualifies as the protection of liberty, right? And the states would say, oh, you're overreaching. You don't get to tell us what to do. And the government would be like, no, this protects their liberty. You can't go discriminate. Or this protects their life. Your freedom ends where theirs begins. And so that really, really kicks off this argument about what is technically federal and what is federal overreach and what should belong to the states, right? Now, a little bit later, we make a huge, huge mistake. And we say corporations are individuals, right? This is how they can be legally sued. This is how they can be held accountable. Corporations are individuals. You sue them as an individual, right? Well, it only takes one lawyer to get really smart, you know? So because they're individuals, we have now decided that they can spend their finances, unlimited amount of finances, and they're not necessarily accounted for. That's why they call it dark money, as a political voice. Well, when you do that, and you get that in the media on both sides, the propaganda from both sides in the media, right? But you have, like, when you do that, what individual can compete with corporations as a political voice in sponsoring legislation, in sponsoring politicians, in sponsoring campaigns? What individual can compete with corporations, right? And on top of that, we have lobbyists. You know, you walk into Congress and you don't just see Congress people, you see lobbyists and from Crayola and oil companies and Coca-Cola, right? So how do you compete with that? How does any individual compete with that? And so I think we've allowed the two-party system to become sort of like a corporate oligarchy, and there's a lot of propaganda on both sides, and there's a lot of division. Part of me wonders sometimes on my most cynical days how much of that is black ops, though, because as the United States has shown with their involvement in other countries in not so friendly ways, the easiest way to destabilize a nation is to over politicize everything. Because if you can't agree on anything, you're so much easier to take down or put in who you want to put in or whatever.
See, and so for me on the outside, like, oh, it's so sticky because I see Brojo see like I don't want an out of touch Washington DC making decisions for local populations, and I think that makes perfect sense. I agree with that.
Yes,
And then
except I
see
don't think the
Sandy,
local.
I don't want a state or yes, but I don't want a local state or a local state government stomping on rights I've had for 50 years, and I'm like, yeah, and I fucking
That's what I'm saying.
agree with that.
But what I'm saying is it doesn't matter at this point, because here's the thing. The same type of people who are in the House of Representatives in Texas are the same kind of people who are in the Senate in Texas, right? Now, one represents state issues, one represents federal issues, but they communicate, and believe me, the majority are on the same page, right? So if I don't trust the out-of-touch assholes in Washington, why do I trust their out-of-touch assholes buddies just because they're handling the local shit?
One step down, yeah.
They got in there with the same process. Why do I trust them more? I'm supposed to believe they're less out of touch when they're running around doing this shit? That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. Especially here where I am, we just went through having our state leaders losing their jobs for corruption. Literally, like the top dog, the deputy.
Yeah, but at least they're losing their job, right? It's more
Yeah,
than we
but
can say about a
only
lot of hours.
because of an independent young guy who's ended up being sued by the deputy prime minister.
No, it's not. Actually, I have said more than once, Brojo, that the overturning of Roe v. Wade isn't even the most recent thing they've done. Like the out of the recent things they've done, Roe v. Wade, while it is very concerning, very, very concerning to me, is not even the most concerning thing they've done. It's not the most concerning decision that they've recently made, in my opinion.
Yeah. The Roe v. Wade opens up a whole mess of things, doesn't it?
It does, but the problem is if they overturn Roe v. Wade, they basically have a leg to overturn another case that like not only relied on the same logic but was kind of born from that case. And that calls into question a whole lot more than people think it does. I mean, and I'm not even talking about abortion. I'm talking about like privacy laws, interracial marriage, same-sex marriage, all of that.
And I was referring, I want to answer Brojo just for a minute, Pixie, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
I'm old enough to have known those days when women had almost no rights, okay? You had to have your husband's signature on your checking account. You have to have a husband, okay, to get anything done. And the reversal of Roe versus Wade does not affect me personally because I'm well past the age of having a child anyway. And I haven't had sex in 8 years. Give me a break. It's the whole reversal of an individual's rights to make their own choices and their right to privacy for me.
Exactly. And then you add in on that the religious aspects they're going for in the separation of church and state.
And
They are trying to erode separation of church and state on top of that. So when you combine those, yes, it becomes very, very concerning.
Exactly.
Yeah. Do you know, you just made me realize, Sandy, that Roe v. Wade isn't about abortion.
Exactly.
So thank you for that. Thank you.
It's not.
Even though, like, all this talk about it, I don't know, however you just said it, it actually just made sense to me.
Hey,
it's.
I think because she was there before it.
I grew up in an age where my mother, the school teacher, and she didn't even go back to college and get a degree and start teaching until 68. And where we lived in the late 60s was down in Wilmington, North Carolina. Integration was being enforced for the first time. And we had fighting in the streets. We had people blowing churches up. We had people blowing cars up. We had people fighting in the streets. We had enforced curfews. We had people were just so at each other's throats that, I mean, on top of everything else, it was a traumatic time to be alive. And for all of my parents' faults, and they had a great many, and they did a lot of damage on their own, they supported, as Brojo said, equal rights and opportunities. No one ever guarantees an equal outcome, but you were able to have the right to at least try. My mother was one of the very first women who broke the school rules and wore pantsuit to work. I mean, a pantsuit. Okay, women wearing pants. Okay, it was a new thing in the late 60s, in the early 70s, and you had to break the rules to be able to dress comfortably. That's the kind of thing.
You need to be on YouTube more, Sandy. Because
no, I don't. Because
yes, you do.
Not unless you send me lots of dope and do it safely, so I don't go back to prison.
We're gonna arrange that. Don't worry. But you just did it again. So I've been struggling. Like, I'm like, how do I answer this? I believe in equal rights and opportunities, not equal outcomes. Because I agree, but like in this circumstance, I'm like, it doesn't apply, but I don't know. But you just, in one sentence, you're like, no one's guaranteed equal outcomes, but everyone should be guaranteed a try.
I used to tell it to Super Munchkin this way.
It's
I used to say,
fucking simple.
It is.
Everyone should have a fucking chance. No, you don't have to be guaranteed to win the fucking race, but you should be allowed to run the race.
That's the way I feel about it. Yeah.
I used to tell Super Munchkin I believe in fairness, not equity. Right?
Well,
and when she asked me what that meant, the only way I knew how to explain it, and I like Sandy's much more, it's simpler. The only way I could explain it to her was I think everybody should have the same start, right? You should have the same start. Where you go from there, what choices you make from there, what you do with that start, that I can't babysit you along the way, right? Like I can't do any of that. But everybody should have the same start. Where you finish is up to you.
Definitely. That is probably as equally a good a way to put it, actually.
Well, let's add to that because I also believe in personal responsibility, which is something I've kind of failed at in the last few months because I let my reactions and emotions overtake my ability to think clearly. So, I've had to take a step back and say, okay, well, how much of this am I actually responsible for? And every blow up I've had and every boundary I've broken lately I have to take full responsibility for failing to acknowledge I stepped into somebody else's zone and took them personally or took their opinion personally and blew up and rage quit. And that's the part that now I've got it set up differently. I don't have my personal stuff out on YouTube anymore. I've set up this one channel now that I can do commenting on. And if I'm feeling sane enough, I'll do what I did this morning. I'll say, oh, Sammy loves me. I can come out and talk to Sammy. Sammy won't yell at me, and flip my triggers deliberately. That's a safe place. So now I have this channel. And if I ever get to the point where I want to share the other stuff that I do, I have another channel that I can easily use and do that there. Because not many people know that I have been followed home lately by phone trolls. Phone trolls, people who have taken it upon themselves to dial my public landline and try their ever-loving best to drive me crazy. And in my paranoia and in my overreaction to it, I jumped to the conclusion that it had to be the rich development that's surrounding me. Well, I don't think it is now, because it went real quiet because I had resolved those issues with them. Oh, by the way, I'm getting a fence on their land, not mine. So they can't, people will see a fence and they won't just come trespassing down onto my place. And then it started up again this weekend. And it was like, well, now this is very interesting. This is very interesting. So now I'm more inclined to think that it's because I go into a variety of different channels, always in an effort to get other perspectives, because I know mine is slanted to my own personal experiences. And to give everybody a fair shake in order to understand the varying opinions, I go a wide variety of places. Some I'm welcome in, some I'm not, some I talk in, some I don't. I don't even know where I was going with that. You'd think I was high, but I guess I'm just done fighting about it. And if we can't have a nice, calm discussion and not yell at each other and not call each other names and all that kind of stuff, I just don't want to participate in it, because life is getting way too short for me. It affects my health, it affects my mental health, it affects my emotional health, and it makes me not want to stay on the planet. And I don't like feeling like I have to escape the entire planet in order to escape all the conflict I see going on.
I want to. Oh, have I frozen? I've possibly frozen there. I'm curious as to what's happening to you. So, is it unsolicited phone calls? And
Oh,
now
yeah.
you said people have followed you home.
Oh, yeah. Well, I don't know. It's a long story. I don't need to go into it because they've gone away again. I was in a voice chat on Discord with some friends of mine because they wake me up at 5 something in the morning this time, and you hang up and they dial right back, and you hang up and they dial right back, and so I old brain fart me, I had to come downstairs because I'm not in the habit. Your landline's not like a cell phone. You can't just say block, block, block easily. And I have to keep my landline. I've had it for 24 years. I'm not changing my damn phone number for anybody. I don't care. But I had to come downstairs and sign onto the computer and go to the phone company and remind myself, how do I block this number? And so I blocked that number, and 5 seconds later, they're calling back on another line. And unfortunately, what we've got now is the internet has a bunch of websites on it that allow people to set up phone numbers and do this kind of torture. And I traced down the first one back month and a half ago. I'm not even sure how long ago it was. I traced that down to a service, and I contacted the service, and they said, "Oh, well, you can just block them." And I said, "No, you're not hearing me. I don't want to have to block them. Get my number off your service. Don't let them call me." So they did that. So then they went. This is kind of hilarious. Then they went and went into an online website with a wake-up call service. So they would enter my phone number into a wake-up call service, and I'd get calls at 3:00 in the morning. "This is your wake-up call." It's like, oh. So I had to contact that service and say, "Get my number off your service." I filed police reports on them because I honestly thought, with as much information as they had about me, that it was the people with money that has surrounded me that don't like me one little bit, because I'm the oddball in the county. Hey, I live in a round house. Everybody else lives in square houses, rectangular houses, and traditional form houses. So I really did honestly think it was them, because it had fallen into a timeline where I had just gotten into a screaming match with them about the boundary problem and trespassers. And we hiked up there and picked up a huge cube of trash, construction trash that had blown down onto my land. And I was furious. I mean, I really was. I was furious because I'm tired of complaining to them, and them coming back and saying, "Well, if you just call us and tell us there's a problem, we'll address it." And it's like, no, you don't. You never have. Yeah. So, and I made a couple of really public videos about it. And I'm thinking, well, maybe they traced me. Maybe they figured out I have a YouTube channel, and they're seeing this stuff, because they're seeing a lot of really weird stuff. When the boundary dispute finally got into negotiations for resolutions, all of that had stopped. And then a month later, boom, it popped up again. So it's like, all right, now where is this really coming from, and why is it happening? And I heard from another friend of mine.
There's no issues with the developers.
No,
everything's
cut. Well, I still hate them, and I hate what they're. Well, I don't actually hate the humans. I hate their attitudes, and I hate their entitlement.
Like, do they want
if they want me gone, they can open up their wallet and pay me enough to go build an equivalent home someplace else, and that's not going to happen. Especially now that the housing market has tanked again.
It's not like they're trying to push you out like developers do when they
do want me gone. I mean, or at least the head honcho would love to see me quit and go away.
Because what you're describing is specifically what developers have done to people.
Oh, they're doing it here.
They try and drive you mad to the point where your only option left is to leave. And in the end, you'll take any offer they give you.
Yeah, see, I'm not going to let that happen. I'm fortunate enough that I had enough supporting friends to keep me from going too far. But they're going to have to take me to the crematorium before I go off my land. I'm planning on dying right here in the house where my husband died. I'm not going anywhere. Especially now that they've finally finished building on all these houses up here. It's just such a nasty little mess, and it all boils down to greed and power. He who has the most money wins. Well, that's not going to work with me. I checked out of that world back in '98. I'm not checking back into that world. Where I'm trying to work on myself is to be able to articulate my feelings about this without screaming at people. Because I've been screaming about this for years, Sammy. It's not gotten me anywhere. They have a new man in charge of general maintenance and overseeing contractors and generally keeping an eye on all the new properties they have sucked up, because they have sucked up half the road I live off of, Little Dead End Road, and they're putting up more stuff. They've lowered the 55-mile-an-hour speed limit on the primary road that leads to mine down to 40 or less, because the tourists that they're pumping in here can't drive worth a damn. And we've had more accidents in the last couple of years, especially since the pandemic began. We've had more traffic accidents and deaths up here from people being unable to drive. So there's been a lot of changes going on in this little sleepy burg that I once, thought of as a great place to live. I could just tuck myself up in the forest and avoid all the a-holes, and I can just live a nice, peaceful life. Well, they have now come in and surrounded me, and they're pushing closer, and they're pushing closer, and they're taking over more stuff, and they're taking over more stuff. And it was really true that when the pandemic hit, everybody ran for the hills. For the first time since I've been here in 98, for the first time, all of these houses that sit empty 10 months out of the year, they're occupied year round. Imagine that, So and I've had enough experience living in a whole lot of other places that if you call me an Appalachian hick, you're really going to underestimate me. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not going to go for that either. And what I'm really trying to do, though, is just not get angry about it. And that's not easy for me to do.
Understandably.
You finished.
There just has to be a balance. I think that if we all just get out of our emotions and start thinking about, it's not all about me. It's about all of us. And as a society, we're really fucking up.
Yeah, it's happening everywhere. Like Canada's having its issues at the moment. Where Australia, we're having the same thing. It's odd. It feels like something very global happening at the moment. Like almost an Americanization.
I'm really suppressing my urge to bring my woo into this. So I'm just gonna snuggle Sammy.
You're welcome. Everything's welcome on this channel. There's no judgment. See, Bridger would love to pass you on. See, there's all love here. Great Reset 2030 agenda. I'm with you, Brojo. Let's do it. Crypto will be in for that. She argued with a local radio host because he said their charter means as much as Klingon. Like, that must break your heart to hear that, Crypto. That's how much people care, really. Again, correction on enumerated rights are justified by the Ninth Amendment. So Dean was saying an interesting thing.
No, I agree with him. The problem is I was just saying I didn't bring the Ninth Amendment in. He's correct and he's right. But the problem is even with that, it's vague enough that it's up to interpretation, right? And I do find the rather strange logic that the Supreme Court used for this not just this overturning, but some other decisions that combined with this overturning are just like, I don't know, I just find it incredibly concerning.
Mm-hmm. I just feel so unqualified to. I can have an opinion, but fuck, it's not even going to be based in anything nearly as much as you
Well, I think common sense.
Americans.
I think common sense in history kind of shows that it's a bad idea to start throwing rights out the window while simultaneously eroding the separation of church and state. Those two don't go well. I mean, together. They never have before, and I don't think they will this time.
Mm.
I'll tell you another thing that's really, really difficult living here is because I hear a lot of the reasoning behind why what's happening is happening. And I don't know that I have changed a single person's heart or mind about it, but at least on a personal level with the people I still respect regardless of their religion or viewpoint on Roe versus Wade or abortion or any of these other contentious topics. They're actually good people. At least they know, just like I had to do with my late husband, they know that there are just some terms you don't need to use around me because I find them highly offensive, and you can say it in a way that is not highly offensive. I don't see anyone trying to take the right to worship as you please away. But I do see a lot of people out there yelling about you're using your religion to change our laws to suit you, and we don't all follow the same religion or spirituality or belief systems. And damn it, if we're not about life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness, then we're not America anymore. There has to be a common ground. There has to be, and I was screaming about this when it first started. And I had a couple of friends of mine start a discussion, and it was calm, and I got mad and I rage quit. But the next morning I came back and I listened to what they were saying, and they have a point, and that is that we have to get this added to our Constitution. We have to come up with a fundamental set of human rights that are clear and articulate and expressly say you have the right to live your life however you want to live it, as long as you're not forcing it down somebody else's throat or hurting somebody else. Because that's the America I want to live in. And if I hadn't screwed up many years ago, I would have the right to move to another country. But I no longer have the right to own a gun. I no longer have the right to immigrate to another country. And I don't really want to abandon everything that I have put all of my time, energy, money into in order to go live in some other place where I know damn well they've got their own set of problems, and they're going to be just as bad, if not worse, there than they are here.
Can I just say something real quick?
Yeah, I just want to point out that everyone in the chat's saying "well said" and Sandy and "amen, Sandy." So I'm voting Sandy for president 2024. And good to see you, O'Day.
No, I'm too old for the job, and if I were able to maintain my emotional well-being as well as I am right now today, I used to say that about my daddy. I said, Daddy could go in and fix the budget. Yeah, we do need someone in there who can see both sides. It ain't me, because I'm gonna pull a hissy fit sooner or later. It's inevitable. Then I'll have to come back and apologize again.
Hey, I just want to clear something up because I guess I was typing everything out. My autocorrect kept messing up. So it's unenumerated rights. Basically, those are rights that are not written, explicitly in the Constitution.
Right. I'm not saying the Ninth Amendment is up for interpretation. That's not what I was saying.
No, I was correcting myself because I wrote something that was incorrect in the chat. No, and I wasn't necessarily suggesting that that's what's up for interpretation. The issue is that, or the question that needed to be asked, was who determines, right, what unwritten rights are, and it's the Supreme Court. And the issue with that is that the Supreme Court can change its mind. So today you might have a right, and it's justified by the Ninth Amendment, right? Your states can't violate it, right? And then, a couple of years down the line, that right can be stripped away by the Supreme Court because they find it to be unconstitutional. And they could come up with
exactly,
or
they can abdicate.
Yeah.
They can abdicate responsibility. That's what, okay, I guess I thought that was all covered in judicial review, but you would understand that, maybe not everybody. So when I was talking about judicial review, the reason there was that is because the Supreme Court was called on to decide an issue, and the Chief Justice was put between a rock and a hard place, right? Because he could go with his party, but that wouldn't be the technical best answer. So if he gave his technical best answer, he would be going against his party, which wasn't so good for him. So what he did instead was he said, this is not within our scope. This is our scope. This is what we do, the judicial review. Anything outside of this is not up to us. And so they can also abdicate.
Yes, they can definitely do that. Or sometimes what they do, right, is that they if they feel as if there's a potential rabbit hole, they'll say, hey, this is only for this particular situation, right? And it's not for the whole, as a whole, kind of like the situation with the couple, the gay couple versus that business that didn't want to bake them a cake, right? It's just one of those things where it's just for that, and they made that explicit. Now the issue that they run into, right, with their, the big decision that they made recently that affects women, right, is that a lot of prior rights that justified the previous rulings, right? The core of what allowed for those rights, they basically threw out the window, right? And so this is why a lot of people are saying, hey, listen, they just basically told you that you don't have the right to privacy when it comes to making medical decisions, right, for your own body.
Yeah.
Because whether they want to admit it or not, right, that procedure, right, the choice to do that, it's a medical decision that has to be made in order to do that. And you can't strip people away of their rights to make medical decisions for themselves, right? And, and so that's the issue that now you're going to run into, because those same rights that allow, right, for Roe, right, a lot of them allow for other rights as well. Right? So
that's what we were saying. Like, it's not just about abortion. So much has been called into question because of this and been abdicated to states in a way that I think is more than irresponsible.
Exactly. And not only that, when you have it in this current situation where someone, someone could be criminalized, right? You criminalize this thing and someone could be a criminal and go to another state, right? But this specific thing is legal in another state, so they go to another state and do it. How are you going to you're going to prevent people from traveling across state lines? That's illegal. You can't do that, right?
And what my question is, where does it lie federally, though? I know that it's a state thing, but doesn't there need to be some sort of federal law as to like?
Well, see, this is why Democrats are so ineffective and ridiculous and a waste, right? Because the right has been very loud about wanting to do this for quite a long time. We've had quite a long time for the left to push for some sort of federal law, and they never did because of Roe v. Wade, right? Because they had Roe v. Wade, why bother?
Yeah, and it's funny too because when Obama actually got into office, they had a supermajority, and they could have passed a lot of laws, right? Whether it's immigration reform, police reform,
but they
right?
cowered to the other side.
Yeah, even though they had a supermajority, which was like super rare. I don't know, Pixie. I think it's a one-party system. I think the ratchet effect is in full swing.
Okay, well, I guess that's true. I guess we could call it the illusion of a two-party system, because I do think both sides are bought by corporations.
Yeah. There is so much crossover between those two, and it's almost like they're deliberately trying to split us all apart on smaller issues instead of addressing what the country really needs. Why are we all? I mean, I'm reading some of the comments, and it's like, why are we fighting about some of this stuff in the chats? I don't get it. Well,
that perhaps?
I'm not actually seeing anybody fight in this chat, but
she's talking in general.
In general, I don't know. I see long-term friendships breaking up over some of these issues. I mean, I basically booted a friend I've had for 40 years out of my life over some of the inane, stupid things that came out of her mouth that I know came directly from her husband. And it was like, no, I can't even speak to you anymore because what you're saying is straight out of Fox News. And I don't even watch Fox News. I can't bring myself to watch Fox News. Every once in a while, I'll catch a clip and get the sense of it. And it's like, ugh, I got to back away from it. Call me a snowflake, call me a liberal, call me whatever. I'm probably the most conservative liberal there is. I think the majority of us really are middle ground. And we would like to do what is best for everyone. Protect your personal rights to worship as you please, live your life as you please, have a job, get paid fairly, not have people dictating to you what you can and cannot do. I think we all really want that. It's the two extremes that are saying, no, you've got to call me this or that, or you have to respect this or that, or you have to bow down to God's will because the Bible says so. None of that makes any sense to me when I think the vast majority of us are willing to work with each other on these things and respect each other's differences of opinions. I mean, as long as you're not coming up here trying to firebomb my house, I don't really care if you're shooting each other down the road. I mean, it makes me heartsick, but
Sandy for president.
Exactly. Like, do what you want to do, but stop trying to legislate your bullshit into my life.
Well, and stop killing people because they disagree with you, for Christ's sake. Oops, there that name came up. That's all training.
Hey, can I just say one more thing real quick? What's recently, the Supreme Court had made another decision. I think it affects the Fourth Amendment, basically preventing the federal government from essentially walking in your house and doing whatever they want to do, and you not being able to hold them accountable, right? The Supreme Court actually made a decision on that. There was a case, I think it had to do with Homeland Security, where they wanted to detain an immigrant or something like that. The immigrant was in the store, but they didn't have a warrant to enter the owner's residence, and they just said screw it and just went in, and they conducted their arrest, right? And the store owner sued. And it went all the way up to the Supreme Court, and he lost. So now the federal government can easily justify, let's say someone who's wanted runs in your house and they don't have a warrant to enter your residence. They can do that, and if they destroy anything in your residence, you can't sue them. You can't sue that officer individually. A lot of people miss that one.
That's such bullshit. That one made me mad too. But the thing is, and it's such a step. It's more than a step backwards if you think about it. Look, if you look at what Miranda got off for something so much smaller. Oddly enough, the guy that killed Miranda also got off because of the Miranda rights. Did you know that? Anyway.
Yep.
But he got off because they didn't read him his rights. He didn't know his rights. That's why it's called the Miranda rights. And then the guy that killed Miranda got off because they didn't read him his Miranda rights. But now they get to just ignore warrants?
Pretty much. And it's not even necessarily just that. It's the notion of that they can come into your place, destroy, even if they do have a warrant, they can come into your spot, exercise that warrant, and if anything gets damaged or whatever, you can't hold them accountable.
I know. I realized that if they had a warrant, you couldn't hold them accountable, but now they could just barge into your house with no warrant and you have no recourse. That seems ridiculous.
Yep. And the thing is that, sure, it is for a federal agency, but what people don't understand is that it trickles down. Right? Because at the end of the day, what's going to happen if a state police officer does the same thing and you try to sue them, right? And even if the states have specific laws against that, they can challenge that, right? And it can go all the way to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court's going to hey, listen, man, this is our ruling on the last situation, right?
Yeah, it does trickle down. And the problem with that is police unions. They already protect bad cops at all costs, no matter what.
So
that's just going to take it to the next level.
You're almost getting me to change a position here. You're almost convincing me of the need. I don't want to say the words, but if that happened in my country, if I thought that cops could just come in and do what the fuck they want, basically, I would want to arm myself. Bro, Jay's just wrote it in caps. He knew I didn't want to say it.
Yeah, but then you'll just be on the hook for murdering a cop.
Yeah, I know, but what choice do I have? That's now I
Is
understand.
it a choice? Is it a choice? I mean, you lose either way.
So your choice is to lose not defending yourself or lose defending yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess
Welcome to
now,
Catch 22 of 2022. Isn't it? But isn't it though? Here it
America,
is,
yeah.
2022, and we're now stuck in a Catch 22.
Mm-hmm.
And we have
Keep it.
to be calm and fix it.
That's why I
That's
said I don't in any way want to ban guns. I am for common sense gun legislation. I am. I'm sorry. I get that you say shall not be infringed upon, blah, 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 blah. I get that. But I know people who I love dearly who should not have guns. All right? And they should not have guns for a very, very good reason.
Mm-hmm.
And for them, I'm sorry. Yes, I think their right to guns should be infringed upon, should very, very much be infringed upon. I just
like
do.
Anyone who is a danger to society, a known danger, like someone who's known for bashing people's heads against walls, you're going to lock them up. What's the difference? What is the difference? If someone has mental health issues where they're a danger, why would you put a weapon in? Would you hand them a knife?
Are you going to stop them from trying to cut their meat? Of course, you're going to let them have a knife.
Oh, but I mean, like a weapon, like a sword. You're not going to hand them a sword and say, "Here you go."
Well, no, somebody who's emotionally balanced won't do that. But at the same token, see, and this is the dichotomy of freedom. That I don't see it being taught that you need to take personal responsibility for your life and your actions, because I don't know. I need to shut up because I'm about to get a little heated, and I don't need to get heated.
I like you, Sandy.
Yeah, that's a very good point.
I hate that few bad apples argument because I'm like, a lot of times you don't know. It's like that one officer, he had what? Like 11 violent incidents on his report, but his reports were sealed to the public. Like, if you want transparency for me, you should be transparent. I should know every complaint against all of you, because I'm so tired of this few bad apples. First of all, it's not a few bad apples, it's a lot of bad apples. And second of all, why should I have to guess between you every time I see a badge?
Yeah. It's something that's so foreign, I think. I imagine there's a lot of countries that's in a similar position, but to someone like in my country, anyway, it's such a foreign concept to not see law enforcement as a protector and
I've lived in both
safety.
places. I've lived in both places. Both places exist here. I've lived in places where a police officer is protection and safety. I've also lived in places where the sheriff's deputy and the chief of police walked into a party in full uniform, snorted a line of coke off the table, and then went and did their thing before going home to beat their wife. You know, like, I've lived in both places, like both exist here. I wouldn't say it's one or the other.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to totally back Pixie up on this, because just based on my own personal life experiences, the whole policing situation, I don't know how you fix a culture when the reason you have bad cops is because they go into it for the power, and then they push it on everyone. All right, let me back up. I was see if I can do this without bringing up the bad stuff. I worked in a gun shop as a teenager, and I loaded ammunition for a person who had been a state highway patrol officer and was a special deputy with the county sheriff's department. And the two things that came out of his mouth that were the most revolting things I have ever known or have heard was rape is assault with a friendly weapon, and I don't have to follow the law because I am the law. That attitude, unfortunately, is prevalent, and it's not even law enforcement's problem because there are just as many good cops out there who don't think that way.
Yep, and yes, Odine, you are correct. I remember that ruling too. I was so upset about that ruling. I couldn't believe it didn't make a bigger splash. But that was a few years ago, wasn't it?
See, it's like they've twisted. It's a thing that happens with nurses, okay? And this idea of like say a pregnant woman gets out of the bed and she shouldn't be getting out of the bed and she falls down. A nurse is meant to stand there basically and watch it happen. If she reaches down and tries to help in any way and she injures her back or whatever, she won't get compensation because she tried to help. That's the mentality. But it's like it's now moved into the police force where, you know, only if you feel up to it or you feel safe, you should protect and serve. But it's on the badge. It's the job. Like how
they decided that protecting and serving was not integral to their job, and that their job was simply enforcing laws.
Law enforcement. It's pretty scary, isn't it?
Depressing is what I would call it.
They take a constitutional oath that they must be reminded of. Again, if the courts don't penetrate the blue wall,
but it was the courts. It was the courts that decided. It was the courts that decided that they were not required to protect and serve. Unfortunately.
I can't say I know that instance. Nerdy? Police watched a guy drown.
Oh my God, that tells you how old I am. I'm thinking a few years back in 2005.
17 years ago.
Yeah, Super Munchkin. That was the year Super Munchkin was born.
Well, if we could just get established that no one is above the law, I think that would be a great step forward.
It's a great start, yeah. And
Agreed.
Not only are they not above the law, but that they are not the law.
Yeah,
exactly.
Thank you very much.
Is that, like you said, that I am the law?
No, I didn't say that. He said that I don't have to follow the law. I am the law. And well, he was a very disgusting human being, and I still kick myself in the butt for not reporting him to the very department that he claimed to be a part of. But too late now. He's dead, and he died a nice, long, slow death, and not of my doing. That's my evil laugh. Yes, I do. I do love it when abusers get their comeuppance.
Yeah, I do too. Funny enough. Is this an American thing? I'm not understanding. 45 is faster than 911.
I don't know. Your guess is as good as mine.
And I'm American. What are you referring to by 45?
Unless he's referring to Trump. Oh, God.
No, he's got to be thinking about a 45.
I was like, please
gun.
don't tell me that was a Trump reference.
45. Just, yeah. Use
Okay.
45s.
You can tell
faster
I've been in the
than always.
QAnon rooms today.
Yeah, well, I'm going to retort that a punch in their throat is a lot faster than a 45.
Crossbows. Those are fun.
Just stay out of my personal space and I won't hit you. It's easy.
Crossbows are fun. So are staffs. Actually, I think staffs are my favorite. I like my staffs.
But I can't even own a crossbow, damn it, Pixie.
Can you have a staff? Staffs are my favorite.
I have a machete and I have some martial arts training, so
just learn to work that staff. Gives you a nice bubble. Nice big bubble.
I always carry a big stick, yes. Walk softly and carry a big stick.
Without, I guess you could even just answer this in a yes or no, so you don't have to go into detail, but do you have much tying you down to where you live?
Me?
Yeah.
The fact that I put every penny that I had in the world into buying my land and building the house of my dreams, and that other than money, no, I have nothing tying me down. Well, I mean, it would be the same thing someplace else, because one of the reasons I left California in '98 and didn't mind moving back to the South, which I have a lot of issues with, was the fact that, hey, guess what? Bigotry and hatred is everywhere. And you might as well battle it where you are than to try to run someplace else and think things are going to be better, because they're not going to be better. You carry your problems with you. People are going to
I was thinking specifically like a state where at least weed's legal. And you just mentioned something else that you can't have a crossbow and all sorts of things.
Well, the firearm and crossbow thing is pretty much in every state for somebody who's got a felony record. I mean, it may vary slightly from state to state. I have my voting rights back. That's the most important right a person can have. So I can vote. It's just that I don't see a whole lot of good options to put that vote towards.
Exactly. Who the hell keeps deciding we have to choose between the worst of the worst? The corporate oligarchy, because it's all bought.
Well, and I got sick of being a corporate slave back in '98, and that's basically why, when my father was dying and I wanted to get back here before he did, and I still failed at it, but that's basically why I sold a house for a lot less than it could have sold for, and just exited stage left and invested everything I had into where I am now, and built the weirdest house in the county. It's still the weirdest house in the county. Banks hate it. I don't care if the banks hate it. I don't care if people don't like the fact that I walk around without a bra 100% of the time. That's why I carry a big shirt with me, so that at least I'm not letting my tits hang out and flop around in people's faces. I mean, I don't bother anybody. I really don't want them bothering me. But I did get really heated under the collar about the Roe versus Wade reversal, because it's not just about the people who have suffered from incest or rape, and I've had both. It's not just about the woman's health. It's the fact that people will not take responsibility for their actions. Because the 2 times I had to exercise that right, both times, it wasn't me that said, I don't want this, even though I knew I was not capable of being a good mother. It was them that ran or said, I don't want this, stop it. And so I did. It was very late in life. And people who say, well, I would never do that. Well, I'm going to tell you, I can tell you many stories about things where I did something that was totally against my nature, because it was the best choice to make at the time, or it seemed to be the best choice to make at the time. Or in the case of the crime, I was, not thinking like myself. I got into an extremely desperate situation. I didn't know how to ask for help. The people I did ask for help from were condemning and negative and not at all supportive. So I went out and did something really bad and desperate that no one got hurt by me doing. And if I ever told the story again, it would be because I was hitting back at the system, at the very people that I saw doing the most damage to the most people, and that was the doctors, the pharmacies, and big pharma.
Yeah. I know a mom who, and I hate that, like people just don't want to take responsibility or they shouldn't, whatever. She was already a mom who had to make a really, really hard choice and had an abortion. And I don't envy the situation she was in. I don't envy what happened to her. I can't imagine what that was like, but to picture her in that situation without that option breaks my heart more.
Well, I hate to say it, but life isn't fair. And as bad as it seems like we have it right now in America, we really don't have it as bad as a lot of places.
That's true. As frustrated as I am, there are a lot of ways in which I was lucky to be born here.
The thing that I think most people who are against abortion don't understand is that I don't know of anybody, and I know a few people who've been through it, and yes, I'm a male, but as a male, I've been as closely, like I've experienced it as close as a male can experience it, and I don't know of anyone who was happy about it or wasn't pretty much broken by it or upset by it. At least it's not something that people just do for fun or like book into the calendar. These are life altering things, and I think it's completely dismissed the tragedy that these people go through having to have them at all.
I am 100% with you there, Sammy. That's the most humane opinion I've heard of it.
Yeah. Because people who have to make that decision, it's not, they don't just go, they don't flip a coin or, oh, I'm too busy to have this child. And that's just from a man's point of view. So I can't imagine for the person who has the thing growing inside them,
well, here's the real kick in the butt. Once you were pregnant, you gotta deal with all the hormonal shifts, and let me tell you, that's almost as bad as being on drugs. It's a roller coaster ride, baby. So try making the hardest decision of your life while you are emotionally dysregulated, just from the hormones. I mean, it's not fun. It's not easy. It's not something somebody chooses to do lightly. And the people who throw up that crap about using birth control, using abortion as birth control, I don't know where they got their information from, but that is not the reality of of the situation. It's just not the reality of the situation, at least not for the grand majority of people who have to do that.
No, I mean it comes with some. I mean, you can really there are possible side effects that no woman wants, right? It's just like birth control. They say why would you have abortions if you have birth control? Well, first of all, birth control is not it's a fail safe. And second of all, have you seen the side effects? And abortion can have its own complications. Like, it's not something anybody just wants to go do.
Yeah. So what's happening in Sri Lanka? People are fighting for their lives. Wow. Maddie says it's bad.
I agree, though. I've never known a girl who was just like, oh yeah, I'll just sleep around, and if I get pregnant, I'll just have an abortion. Like, I've never known anybody who just felt that way, ever.
Yeah. And, you know, here's the kicker. And I don't like to say this much because even though I know it's not and I don't see it this way, it's like the opposers would use it to their advantage or see it as that way. Just think about the poor people who have had to have one and they regret having it. How messed up they have to feel through all this shit.
Oof. Or the poor kid. Jeez.
You looking at me, Sammy? You looking at me right now, aren't you, Sammy?
No, myself actually, and partner of the time.
Yeah, no, I was only half joking. I understand you have personal experience with it, but yeah. Speak on, baby.
I did know that it's similar to you. But yeah, we did it, and because we were too young, we knew we were too young, and we had no money, and it was just we could not bring a child into that situation, and we went through it, and it was horrific for both of us. And we were using contraception at the time. Just let me throw that out there. And using contraception, we very quickly fell pregnant again. And we couldn't go through it again. So we kept the child, who's my oldest son. But because we kept that child, we then had the guilt of, well, why didn't we just keep the first child? So the whole Roe v. Wade thing is pretty raw for me, obviously. Because people that's why I was just trying to make that point before. People are already going through messed up bullshit to not have to worry about whether they're going to go to prison for it. Like this. Yeah. That's all I had to say. I'm not trying to make anyone feel sorry for me or anything. That's just explaining where my position comes from. And a point of view that I think needs to be put out there, because I don't think it's always considered. How bad?
So contraceptives didn't work for you either.
No,
I was on contraceptives when Super Munchkin was conceived.
Yeah. So, there you go. They're not all they're cracked up to be. I'm sure they're getting better over time, but
Oh, I just went with a completely different form now.
yeah.
It's been working, so that's what I'm going with. But I do not want to be pregnant again.
Yeah.
You know, fortunately for me, by the time I had the second occurrence, I was old enough to go into the doctor's office and say, tie my tubes now. As a matter of fact, you can pull all the works out. I don't plan on using them, and I haven't planned on using them since I was 11 years old. Take all the parts out. And he said, well, we'll tie your tubes, because I'm just going to tell you, if we yank your ovaries and everything else out, that's going to really mess up a whole bunch of other stuff that you don't want to get messed up. And it's like, but it took until the age of over 40 before they didn't argue with me about it.
They wouldn't even tie. Okay, when Super Munchkin was born, I was very, very young. I had her the day after I turned 21, which in hindsight was fabulous because she is very high energy and I had the energy to keep up. But I knew I didn't want more kids. Like my pregnancy was awful. It was really awful. It almost took me out. I was just like, I'm done. But they refused to tie my tubes because I was too young and I would change my mind. And I have never been so angry in my life. I was really angry.
I can totally relate to that.
Vasectomy for the win.
And I'm like, but I did not change my life. So I did not change my mind. Like, here we are, 16 years later. She's an only child. I'm still fantastic with that.
Vasectomy for the win is not necessarily the only solution. I mean, honor a woman's right to choose not to have babies. Some of us know what we're doing.
I agree.
I mean, if what you want is a requirement to go to a therapist and talk about it first, put that requirement on it. You do that for folks who want to transition. They're not complaining about that. They don't mind going in and discussing it with a therapist, and well, maybe some of them do. I can't speak for them because I'm not one, but from what I have heard, they don't mind going in and having a discussion about, yes, this is what I am, this is what I want to be, I want to do this. Yes, people change their minds later on, but the percentage is so small. And again, it just goes right back to personal responsibility. Mm-hmm. Let people, if they are capable of calmly and rationally making their own decisions, let them make their own decisions, damn it.
Exactly.
Well, having your tubes tied does not cause any hormonal problems either.
No, but they can come untied.
Yeah, well, and now I have actually questioned whether or not they used metal when they did mine. But if you leave the ovaries in place and the procedure is done correctly, it doesn't reverse, and you don't have the hormone problems that you would have if they just yanked your ovaries out. And yeah, it is less invasive, believe it or not. I know guys are really protective of their male parts, but it's no fun, even with modern techniques of going through your belly button. It's no fun having the procedure done. Oh God, talking about painful.
Which one? The vasectomy or
Oh, I think she was thinking of a hysterectomy.
No, I was tubal ligation is what I was referring to.
Oh, yes, yes, that.
Neither procedure is any fun for the person receiving it.
Yeah, she's saying tying your tubes is not fun, but neither is a vasectomy.
Right, so it's really painful.
Even with a less invasive